Welcome to episode 138 of Think Big with Michael Zellner podcast, powered by Platinum Jewelers. My guest today for episode 138 is Mike Williams, who is here with me to talk about crime, criminals, the police, and get his professional viewpoint on how things have gotten where they are now in the city of Memphis, which is sort of a really very perilous situation that we have going on. Tomorrow is the mayoral and city council election. And since he ran for mayor in 2015, I thought he would be the perfect person to have on the podcast today. Mike was born and raised here in Memphis, graduated from Manassas High School in 1978. He was a CW2, which is a Chief Warrant Officer 2 in the United States Army and Intelligence Officer, and he served his country until 1999. He came back to Memphis and started as a Memphis police officer as a patrolman in 1999, and they obviously knew they had a leader and a winner, and he was elected to president of the Memphis Police Association in 2010. He just recently retired just 3 years ago in 2020. And he also has his own show every Thursday night called Memphis 360. You can watch it live on Facebook and on YouTube also. He's been on the podcast several times before, and I welcome him back on today because we have a lot to talk about the people in our city want and need to hear. Thanks for joining me again today, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I want to start off with a quote of yours that I read. It says, quote, "I am Michael R. Williams and my integrity means everything to me. That's all I have," unquote. Tell the audience in a little bit more detail what those words have meant to you throughout your life.
Well, I was brought up believing that a man's word is his bond. A man's honor is everything. A man's integrity is everything. Some people live all their lives trying to build their integrity, and because somebody waves a golden ticket or an olive branch in front of them, they give it all up for that olive branch or that golden ticket. During the course of me being in the military and also on the police department, there were many opportunities where individuals tried to buy my integrity, or they tried to put something in front of me that they thought was my weakness, be it a woman, be it money, or what have you, and so many people that we have that have the ability to do great and wonderful things because they want to take the shortcut. A lot of times they bite from that forbidden fruit. And once you bite from that forbidden fruit, then they have you. And you no longer have your integrity. You no longer have the ability to be unbought and unbossed. You no longer have the ability to speak the truth, to stand up for people, regardless of what's going on. I haven't had a whole lot in life. I'm comfortable. But at the same token, I want my 5 kids to say, when it's over for me, that my dad was a man of integrity. He stood up for the right thing. He never bowed. He never succumbed to all of the riches that was possibly in his grasp because of positions that he would put in or what have you. So my integrity is everything to me. And that is all that I have, that I control. And nobody can take that away from me. That's something that I would have to give up.
It reminds me of something my dad told me years ago. My dad was a podiatrist, and I asked him one time why he didn't do more surgeries. And he said to me, "Son, I can sleep at night." And I said, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, there's a lot of doctors that push people into surgeries that, probably don't need it because that's where they make a lot of money." And he goes, "I don't do that." And he goes, "And I can sleep at night and I can live with myself." And so that word integrity, when I think of you with that word, I also think of my dad, because that statement sort of, goes along with what you're talking about.
That's correct.
After a long career in the Army, you came back to Memphis around, I guess you're around the age of 40 in 1999, that area. You decided to become a police officer. What led you to that decision?
Well, I had always wanted to be a police officer since I was a child. I believe it or not, I went into the military as an MP, military police. So I was always intrigued by law enforcement from the perspective that I always thought the police officers were the good guys. I always thought that police officers were the ones that help people in the community. And that's something that I definitely wanted to be able to do in the city of Memphis because Memphis gave me a whole lot, gave me the ability to be able to go out into the world and be successful, to become a man. And I thought that I owed the citizens of the city of Memphis and giving back in service. So what better way to do it as a police officer? And I was able to help a lot of people as a police officer because when I came back, people still believed in the police. People still endeared to police. And at that time, we were doing community policing. So I had the ability and the opportunity to actually work in Orange Mound, work in Castalia, work in the Florida, Kansas area, some of the worst parts of Memphis at that time when you talk about crime and different things like that. But I built some really, really good relationships with the citizens out there. Young lady, car breakdown, she's on a flat. I was the type of police officer that would fix the flat. Don't have to call a tow truck. That's what men do.
Right.
That's what servants do. I would hope and wish that somebody would do the same thing for me if my daughter broke down or if my wife broke down, to help them as opposed to put them in harm's way.
Referring to running for president of the Memphis Police Association, you said, quote, "At the time I ran, I felt that I could take the police association in a new direction," unquote.
Yes.
It's 2010. In your mind, where was that direction that it needed to be heading?
Well, I thought that it needed to be more community oriented. Part of the constitution of the Memphis Police Association said that we would support the command staff for the Memphis Police Department in the accomplishment of their mission. But it also said that we would support the citizens of the city of Memphis and build relationships and, just be a all around organization that was going to be a positive influence in the city of Memphis. And I felt that at that particular time, we weren't as engaged in the community as we should be. So therefore, I wanted to put some things in place with the help of the executive board to be able to give the police association a voice, give the police association the ability to give back to the community. So we established the Memphis Police Association Charitable Foundation while I was there. We were able to give millions of dollars back into the community to be able to assist people. It was designed to assist police officers that were shot or killed in the line of duty or family members that were hurt. But we also geared it toward a lot of nonprofit organizations that were having problems getting grants and funding for some of the things that they were doing in the community. We actually worked with you several times when you had tornado victims down in Louisiana. Then I think they had tornadoes down in Florida, and in conjunction with your business, we were able to send truckloads of supplies and needed amenities down to those individuals that had suffered disasters. But we did Christmas drives for kids here in the city of Memphis, and it became an organization that was known in the community for being a helping hand as opposed to just going out and policing the citizens. And that's one thing that I told the executive board when it took over, was the fact that, we had to show the citizens of the city of Memphis that we had a vested interest, because a lot of us are citizens and products of the city of Memphis.
The numbers of police officers went up in your, first year that you were police association president, around the 2,500 mark in, I believe, September of 2011. Just to give people a perspective of where things are, now or where they were as of December of 2022, that number had dropped a little bit below 1900. As humans, we tend to have short memories. I think there's probably a lot of people who might not remember, and some might not even know what happened at all around, 2013, 2014, that changed the police department. And in my opinion, the direction of the city when it comes to all types of crime. I'm going to let you sort of take it from there and tell the audience what happened, the city council, the pensions and benefits, and, the chamber of commerce and all that stuff.
Well, in 2009, that's when Mayor Harrington resigned. And that's when we had elections and AC Warden was actually put into office. AC Warden had been over in the county and he had stripped the county employees of a lot of the benefits that they had. And we knew that it was going to be a fight over on the city side as well. So, and that's exactly what he did when he came in to become the mayor of the city of Memphis. He started stripping the employees of the benefits, police officers, firemen. I believe in 2012 or 13, we had a 4.6 pay cut. We started losing officers big time. I think we had lost about 500 officers, 500 plus officers. Then they took the insurance from the retirees. Then they took, they just took away from the employees, the police officers and firemen, and we continued to lose people. I believe current Mayor Jim Strickland at the time, he was the one that proposed the 4.6 pay cut, but it was in conjunction with Mayor AC Warden. At that time, they also cut positions on the Memphis Police Department as well. We told them that that was going to be a bad thing because we didn't know if they were going to be able to recover, and they still have not recovered, but they don't want to listen to reason or didn't want to listen to reason at that time. And a lot of people got upset because we put billboards up that said, danger, do not enter.
Right.
Enter at your own risk. This city does not support public safety. And a lot of people got really, really, really upset, especially at me, because we put those billboards up. But like I told them, we're just trying to tell you, if we continue down this road, this is what's going to happen. And unfortunately, our predictions came true because crime, as we know it right now, prevails all over the city of Memphis. We have citizens that are afraid to sit out on their porch. We have citizens that are being robbed at gas stations, being robbed, followed home and robbed. We got individuals that are popping up dead all over the place. We've broken the homicide record virtually almost every year, and it's just going up, 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 up. We used to have 100 and some homicides here in the city of Memphis. We're on a road this year to possibly hitting 400 homicides, and that is astronomical for a city this size. When you're talking about a city of possibly 700 or 600 and some thousand people. Per capita, we are considered the most dangerous city in the nation when it comes to the homicides and the crimes, Part 1 crimes that are being committed in the city. When we put those billboards up, we were trying to tell them at that time that this is what's going to happen. Because we could see that as they continued to strip benefits away from police and fire, that we were continuing to lose people. So now our police department is relegated to a reactive force as opposed to a proactive force. When we had 2,500 officers, you had the ability to have community-oriented substations within some of the most dire communities. You don't have the ability to do that right now. Officers are just, and the number of crimes and calls have went up. So those officers that are left, and as you stated, we were down to under 1,800. I think the last time I heard, we had maybe gotten back to 1,900, but it had never got above 1,900. We haven't, and in every study that they do, it says we need more police officers to be responsive to the type of crimes that are occurring in this city. but we can't get there because the environment that has been created, a lot of young people don't want to be the police. And I can't really blame them, to be perfectly honest, because it's almost the justice system is almost like a revolving door. You lock them up, they let them out. You lock them up, they let them out. Then you got activists that are saying, oh no, the police are so bad, so bad, so bad. And I want people to understand that I am not for any police officer that is operating outside the scope of the law. But at the same time, I am for holding criminals accountable for their actions. I think that's a two-way street, and we have forgotten that. And we're so much geared now on the side of we want to protect the rights of the criminals. Well, what about protecting the rights of the citizens? Those are the people that we need to be protecting their rights, the hardworking, tax-paying citizens of the city of Memphis and the county of Shelby, and stop being so cognizant of these individuals that are committing the crimes. And because we are coddling these criminals, a lot of them are repeat offenders because they keep getting out of jail because of, like I said once before, the environment that has been created, unfortunately. So at this time, this current time here in the city of Memphis, everybody knows we're the talk of the nation. When you go to different places and you mention that you're from the city of Memphis, and the first thing they want to talk about is the crime. And is it safe?
Did Mayor Wharton and Mayor Strickland ever, give the reasons why they wanted to strip the pension, the benefits, the insurance, and all that? I mean, obviously, I know that, the obvious thing they probably would have said, wouldn't it? Oh, we can't afford it,
Right.
but, that's a bunch of, what.
Mhm.
But I mean, what, in your opinion, what was the real reason why Mayor Wharton did that in the county and then in the city too?
Well, I believe he was mandated by the power brokers in this city, and a lot of people, Michael, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, it's economics. When you cut the police has the biggest budget in the city of Memphis, and when you're talking about a $800 million, $1 billion budget, you're talking about the police budget is 200 and at that time I think it was like 240 something $million, right at $250 million. If you cut positions, that's additional money. If you uh, strip the benefits, that's additional money. If you uh, give the police officers a 4.6 pay cut, that's additional money. So now you have money for economic development. You have money to, and let me say this, I am not against economic development. I believe in it being parallel to providing citizens the core services that they pay their taxes for. However, we were on this trend to whereas they were tearing down all of the projects in the city, Claiborne Home, Foot Home, Dixie Home, Fowler Home, Lemoyne Garden, and they were redeveloping them with Hope 6 grant money. But a lot of times with the Hope 6 grant money, you also had to have matching funds. And they were public-private investments. So you had to have money to pay off the debt services so that you could borrow GO bonds to be able to contribute to the development of a lot of these things. They did Crosstown Concourse. They did Beale Street Landing. They were working on several projects across the city that required money and required the ability to get those bonds. If you have a high debt services, then you don't qualify for the bonds, or the penalties and the interest on the bonds are going to cost you even more. So that was a way for them to get money to be able to invest in those things that they said that they wanted to make the city better. But we also told them at that time as well, you can build it, and yes, they will come, but they're going to take because you're not going to have the ability to protect those entities that you're building. You're not going to have the ability to police those areas that you're building all of this nice stuff, and you want tourists to come in and to enjoy that and to spend their money so that you could actually the business community could actually benefit from. And you talked about the Chamber of Commerce. They were lobbying really, really heavy at that time. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but when they walked into the council chamber, it was like the Pope was walking in. They paid homage to, and I'm not going to call the individual's name because he's no longer with us. He's deceased now. But you could tell as they walked into the room that a lot of people definitely respected that organization and the individual that was the head of that organization. But it was so unfortunate because the same individual that was the head of that organization was a victim of crime in this city, and he was actually gunned down on the streets of the city of Memphis.
People don't realize, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they do, if you have 2,000 officers total, 2,000 officers are not all working at the same time. I mean, there's three different shifts, if I'm correct, maybe. And so you're not going to have 2,000 officers all working at the same time. I mean, I don't know exactly how many are on each shift, but it's not that.
Well, you actually have four shifts, Mike.
Four.
You have the
Okay.
Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta shift. That's what they had. Now they do what they call split shift. You have like an Alpha A and an Alpha B, a Bravo A and a Bravo B, Charlie Alpha, Charlie B, a Delta Alpha, and a Delta B. Well, they cut out the Delta shifts, actually. So you got officers spread out all over the place. And I don't think a lot of people realize that the city of Memphis, when it comes to area mass, it is the same size as the city of New York. We cover a vast amount of terrain in this city. And that's one of the reasons they were asking for the sheriff department to take some of that territory. Because the police officers or the Memphis Police Department could not cover it all effectively anyway. I think they had annexed part of South Cordova in. Then they turned around because the individuals in South Cordova felt as though you annexed us in. We're not getting the services that you said we were going to get. And they were able to work it through the legislators in the Tennessee House and the Tennessee Senate, to whereas they had to de-annex them. So they've tried a lot of things here in the city of Memphis, but because they did so much damage, and I don't think that they realized what was going to be the outcome of what they were doing at that particular time, because it was all about the money.
Right.
But you're playing with people's lives, and that's in essence what they did. They played with people's lives, and this is the residual effects of all that they did from 2009 up to about 2020 or 2019. So this is what we have, and I don't know if they're going to be able. I don't know if they're going to want to do the things that it's going to take to recover.
Yeah, you talked about 600,000 to 700,000 residents in the city of Memphis. That doesn't include the suburbs, Germantown, Bartlett, Collierville, places like that. According to the staffing data available on the Memphis Data Hub, the police department's numbers of sworn officers has dropped 22.6%. Since 2011, when you were president of the Police Association. Less than 2,000 police officers now trying to take care and protect, people from, the good people from the bad people.
Right.
What effect do you believe losing, now, I guess 500 officers plus over the last 10 years and dropping the qualifications significantly has had on the city and the horrible crime we have today?
Well, it has a tremendous effect. We're living it. We had a serious crime problem in the 1990s, and under the leadership of Dr. Harrington, they got grant monies, federal grant monies, to be able to beef the police department up. we were running 2, 3 classes at a time, and each class had anywhere from 50 to 75 people per class. But you had all of this activity out there at the police academy at the same time. So you had individuals who had the ability to actually work in what they call coax out in the community. So they were extensions of the police department to work directly in the community. Got to know the people in the community, got to know the individuals that were out there committing crimes, got to know build relationships, whereas individuals would let you know what was going on. When grandmothers knew that their grandsons or mothers knew that their sons had warrants or what have you, they would work in conjunction with the police to turn their sons and their grandsons in to those police officers, because the grandmothers or the mothers didn't condone the activity that the child or the grandchild was doing or involved in. But at the same time, they didn't want to see their loved ones hurt by the police. So they had more confidence in the police, and it allowed the police to be able to work in the community to keep the community safe. And a lot of things that were going to happen, the coax were able to ward it off because they had inside information before something actually happened, so that they could nip it in the bud. And that's part of proacting policing as opposed to reactive policing. Reacting, you get there after the homicide has been committed. You get there after the school dance has been shot up. You get there after the dope deals have been done. But in proacting policing, you had the ability at that particular time, because we had so many officers or enough officers to sufficiently police the city of Memphis and sufficiently work within the communities. So, there are more people in these communities that want to live productive, safe lives. They want to be able to enjoy their twilight. They want to be able to sit on their porch. They want to be able to walk up and down the street, just like in some of these pristine communities that we have in the city of Memphis. But we're finding now that crime is even starting to affect the pristine communities, because a lot of the individuals in the disadvantaged communities don't have anything to give. And we have cars now, and just like I think we've had about 8,000 cars that have been stolen, 8,000 plus cars that have been stolen this year in the city of Memphis alone. So we can steal a car now and ride out to Poplar Estates. We can steal a car and ride to Collierville. Collierville is starting to see an uptick. Bartlett is starting to see an uptick in crime. You don't hear about it a lot of times because they don't report it like the Memphis Police Department, because of moratoriums and mandates and consent decrees and all of this kind of stuff, the police department has to be an open book. Whereas Germantown, Collierville, and even the sheriff department, they're not bound by the same rules and regulations as the Memphis Police Department, as in being as open. Plus, they want you to still think that those communities are still a little safe. And they are. They're a lot safer than the city of Memphis. However, it's starting to spill over. We saw crime even going down, people from Memphis going down to South Haven. But they quickly said that you come down here and you do those things and you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay. And they're holding people to that. So a lot of times, individuals that are perpetrating or committing crimes, they want to run down there, but they quickly turn around and try to get back to Memphis. Once South Haven or Olive Branch down in Mississippi get behind them and get a hold of them, because they know that they're definitely not held to the same rules and regulations that the city of Memphis police officers are.
I live in East Memphis, right on the edge of Germantown, off Kirby. And last week, my neighbor across the street who has a pickup truck, he sent me a text and said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know my truck, they busted out the window last night. My wife's car busted out her window. My son's car, broke his handle to get in his car. They didn't take any of my work tools." He goes, "They were looking obviously for guns and cash." He goes, "The cameras were blurry. I saw the men out in the street. They pulled up behind my truck in the driveway. And he asked, he goes, and my Hummer isn't here because my transmission went out. And he said, I said, well, I've been leaving my doors unlocked because I said, if they break into mine, I'm just thinking, hopefully they'll just unlock it and see that there's nothing in there. But I mean, just like you said, they're coming into, not that this is the nicest area, but this is a good area of town.
Right.
Doesn't matter where you live anymore. Crime has gotten everywhere.
Well, I live in a secluded community. It's considered nice, I guess. But about a month and a half ago, there's a knock at my door, and it's the police. And they were like, "Whose car is this out here?" And I was like, "That's my daughter-in-law's car." And the doors were open, and the trunk was up. She leaves her car unlocked as well. And I went back and rolled my cameras on my house, and I had nice pictures of about 5 young male blacks get out of the car, and they're pulling on door handles. They didn't break any of the windows out here, but they were pulling on door handles, going from car to car. And even if they saw cars in your driveway, they were going up there. And they she had cleaning supplies in the car, Mike, and they took the cleaning supplies because on the side she cleans houses and stuff like that. So I'm a victim of crime too. Crime has no discernment of race, has no discernment of nationality, has no discernment of gender. Everybody is becoming victims of crime in this city. And sometimes I'm glad that I did not, that I was asleep, and that I didn't see them because, there have been several cases where individuals have been alerted to people going into their cars or what have you, and they walk out on the front porch. And these young people are so bold and so brazen, they're shooting at the resident or the individual who car they're breaking into, So you could walk into a bad situation as well. I may have did it a little bit differently, but I also have to think about, Tennessee state law says that you can't really shoot somebody or for stealing property, for breaking into your car. You're not supposed to, unless you feel threatened or you feel that your life is in danger. But that's the thing. I walk out on the porch and these young men are breaking in the car. And I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, if they're bold and brazen enough to come through your neighborhood doing that, you better believe that they're probably armed.
Yep.
It has also been seen on video where you may have some individuals that are standing out there breaking in cars or what have you. And it's almost like they got military tactics. You may have a couple of guys standing around with AK-47s or AR-15s in case somebody walks up on them. So you got to be careful. I know a lot of people get upset when they see somebody taking something from them that they worked hard for. But you also have to be smart about how you react to these situations because, you walk out there, okay, they were breaking into your car. You left your car open. They didn't break your windows or anything like that. You really didn't have anything of value. And please do not leave these guns in your cars overnight. But you didn't have anything of value. Now you walk out and now they feel threatened. They're in the act of committing a crime, but they feel threatened. So now they start shooting at you, and you could be a victim of not only a theft, but you could also be a victim of a homicide as well. So you got to be careful and know what's of value. I always say know when to fight and when not to fight.
Yep.
Know when to observe and know when to engage. So, just got to be smart about how you do it.
And he talked about, he has guns, and he talked about it's about 11:30 at night. And he said that, they were so quiet that their German Shepherd in the backyard didn't even bark. So they must have had something to break the windows that was, didn't make a lot of noise. And he said, I might have gone out there and, shot up in the air or something. I thought to myself, I said, if they were gangs and you did something like that, they might have left, but they might come back at some other point in time and I mean shoot up your house. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
Well,
scary.
I'm saying 9 times out of 10 they were probably already armed.
Yeah.
So if somebody fires upon you, what do? You return fire. And these guys have probably gotten in more firefights, and that's another thing. I was in Kuwait when I was in the military in 1991. I was assigned to what they call SOCCENT, Special Operations Command Central. I was with 5th Special Forces Group at the time. And I tell people that, even when you're in combat, they take you off the front line, they take you out of harm's way, and they let you try to recoup and try to regroup. But these guys are out here day in, day out for years. So they become hardened. They don't think, they don't hesitate. So you come out there, you shooting in the air because you're trying to scare them, and they light your porch up because they have what you call switches, especially on these 40s, 9 millimeters, and different things like that. It turns a pistol into virtually a machine gun. So they may drop 70 rounds, and they're running around even with pistols with 100-round clips. So you standing there shooting in the air, and these individuals may lay down suppressive fire uh, pointed at your door or your porch. And out of 70 rounds coming through your house, you're not only putting yourself at risk, but you're also putting any and everybody that's in your house at risk because those bullets could be penetrating windows. You've heard on numerous occasions where individuals possibly out there shooting at each other, and someone inside of a home that was sitting watching TV gets shot in the head, or someone that's laying in the bed gets shot. The bullet was not intended for them, but because they're putting out so many rounds, and a lot of times it's not really directed at any specific thing. They just laying down fire because they're just as afraid as the individuals that they're firing upon. And that's why we're having so many people that are being killed, and they weren't the intended target.
Right.
So I would just say be careful.
Absolutely.
Are you shopping for a new watch, an engagement ring, any kind of jewelry at all? What's up, Memphis? This is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies, encouraging you all to shop where I shop, Platinum Jewelers here in Memphis. Platinum Jewelers has a big selection of earrings, stockable rings, luxury watches, necklaces, bracelets, really whatever you need. 9387 Poplar next to Fresh Market in Germantown. So if you need anything jewelry related, go to my spot, Platinum Jewelers.
When you were still Memphis Police Association president, they made a lot of changes to the qualifications. I believe back in 2018, hoping to get more police, including deferring college credit requirements for recruits. They allowed applicants with high school diplomas and multiple years of work experience to join the force and quote pledge to attend college later. In 2021, they added the $15,000 signing bonus. In 2022, the department said it was just adjusting qualifying marks and fitness in an effort to exclude fewer applicants. They also made additional changes that they never announced publicly, but included at the academy, and they became more lenient and grading students, allowing some to retake exams, including at the shooting range. There were other things too. I mean, what the heck did they think was going to happen from all this?
I believe they were just trying to get more people, more bodies, Michael. But that could also have a negative effect because it takes a certain type of person to be able to come out and to stand in an individual's face, and you're going to have to arrest this person. You may have to engage physically with this person and not lose your cool. And be able to engage in that physical altercation to get that individual into compliance and not necessarily step on the other side of the law, to violate somebody's civil rights, to treat somebody inhumane. I am all for, and I've always been for, I always try to talk to people. There's a thing called the force continuum, to whereas you use verbal commands. That's the first thing. Then you raise your voice. Then you go to what they call soft hands. Then you go to hard hands, and you just continue to climb the force continuum to whereas it may be deadly force authorized, to whereas you're shooting somebody or somebody gets shot. But before all of that, we used to have a police department, I think, that had the ability to effectively take individuals into custody without crossing that line for the most part. You're always going to have some bad apples
Sure.
in there, individuals that are going to get through the cracks, or individuals that really don't have the temperament or the aptitude to be a police officer. And what happened, in my opinion, because they lowered the standards, they lowered the bar. When I came through, Mike, they would PT you to death. I don't care if the concrete was hot. I don't care if it was cold. You're going to get down there and you're going to do push-ups. Well, see, that reminded me of the Army. That's the same thing they did in the Army. But what are they training you for in the Army? To go into combat? You can't hold up stress cards. You're stressing me out. Well, guess what? If I'm stressing you out, you really don't need to be here,
Right.
because we're trying to push it to your limits, so that, number one, that you can survive. And number two, it's going to come a time when you're going to have to survive. And that's in almost every police officer's career. And it doesn't necessarily have to include deadly force, because a lot of times, our motto is hold on, we're coming. You just got to be able to hold on for 5 or 10 minutes and the cavalry will get there. I've gotten into fights in the middle of Ketchum Road, right there, Ketchum and Bird. Young dope boy coming out of a house. I could see a budge. I approach him. I'm by myself. And we get into a physical altercation. And my hand got messed up. So the only thing I could do was wrap the guy up. And we laying in the middle of the street, virtually laying in the middle of the street. So the only thing I could do was tie him up until help got there. And I eventually was able to get to my radio, call for assistance. Cars were coming from everywhere. I could hear the sirens. So I just had to hold on, just wrap this guy up. And just so happened, a good friend of mine, Terrell Hunt, a real big guy, I could feel him reach over me and grab the guy by the collar, man, and just lift him up off the ground, and I was like, whoo, so those are the type of things that you're going to have to deal with. And you got to have individuals that are not afraid to engage in that type of activity. I've noticed that a lot of times the police officers are reflective of society as well. So when you have all of these young people out here now that are shooting, and they don't have conflict resolution skills, and they don't have the ability to discern when you're trying to help them as opposed to hurt them, because only thing they know in their minds is that, everybody's negative, everybody's trying to do something, everybody's trying to hurt me. And then we haven't even talked about the fentanyl that's out here, and individuals are addicted to that. I didn't know people were doing fentanyl and they were addicted to it. I thought everybody was slipping them Mickeys. But you have people that are addicted to fentanyl. You also have people that are doing 4 bars. You got people that are smoking a lot of this weed that is laced now. So a lot of people are just not in their right mind, and they're popping all of these pills. And we probably have an epidemic. Mike, you can buy that Narcan over the counter now. We didn't got to that point because they want it to be readily available, because so many people are ODing on fentanyl and different things like that. So a lot of times when individuals are out here committing these crimes now too, they're not in their right minds. They're hyped up, their own drugs. You got individuals that are doing what they call Waukesha, which is SERP. They're doing a little bit of everything. So, you have police officers that are a lot of times reflective of society. And that's why it's so imperative that you weed them out. You put them through the ringer. You make them want to quit. You make them want to go home. You don't want to wait until things happen once they get out there in the streets. And then you go, oh, Lord, we got all of these bad police officers, or oh, Lord, he wasn't doing his job. Well, guess what? If we would have weeded some of them out during the academy, then you may not have some of the problems that we're incurring now.
And that leads perfectly into my next question. Brian McNamee, a former Memphis police lieutenant and supervisor training for the department, good guy. I've known Brian a long time. He did that from 2019 to 2021. Before that, he was internal affairs. He said this quote: "They baby these recruits and do everything they can to help them pass the test so they don't lose the body. That's a problem. If somebody can't pass the test and can't grasp the material, you don't want them on the streets policing you," unquote. The overhaul was implemented by then Police Chief Rawlings and then successor Chief Davis under the direction of, Mayor Strickland. He praised Chief Rawlings, said these words, quote, "We made rebuilding MPD staffing a major priority and found innovative ways to make it happen," unquote. Innovative ways. Yeah. They got larger classes. And at the time it made them look good, but you and I and others, you tried to warn them, from what I understand, what was going to happen if they did this.
Yes, we did. We started getting calls about some of the things that was occurring out at the academy. And we were very concerned because these are the same people that are going to be going out there and working alongside my wife, who's a police officer currently still. These are the same people that are going to be going out there working with my son, who is still a police officer currently on the Memphis Police Department, or working with a lot of my lifelong, or since I've been back in Memphis, friends. We took pride in taking care of each other. We called it ride or die. We were gonna go to the wall for you. But like I was telling you about the incident with me having to wrap a guy up in the middle of the street, and we're just laying in the streets, and there's citizens everywhere, but they're just looking because they're not going to get involved. And I really didn't want them to get involved.
Sure.
But when you have officers that have not and are afraid to engage, then that's going to be a problem, and somebody's going to come up dead. Somebody's going to come up hurt. And it don't necessarily always mean the officer is going to come up hurt. It means the officer may overreact because they don't have those built-in mechanisms that know how to turn it on and turn it off. Or they don't have those deductive reasoning skills, just like those other young people out there in society. And that's why I keep saying they are a reflection of society. And I'm not saying all, so I'm not being all inclusive.
Sure.
But that's how come you have to weed them out in the academy. So you have to put them through those rigorous tests. And that's what made a lot of the police officers what they were back in the day, because only the strong survived. Only those that had the temperament and the attitude and the ability to stand on their own after you've put them through the ringer. A lot of people talk about Marines, but everybody know about the rigorous training that Marines go through. You talk about SEAL teams, one of the most best elite organizations militarily in the world. But we also know about the rigorous training that they do. When you talk about Delta Force, oh God, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? When you talk about the Rangers, they almost get to the point of death. And it's okay. It's considered okay. We'll bring you back, But you can trust that those individuals, when they go into combat, they're going to be some of the most highly trained, have the ability to survive, have the mental capacity to be able to deal with what they're going to have to deal with as we send you into these dangerous situations. Well, guess what? It's the same thing with the police. You want individuals that, number one, want to be there, those individuals that study hard. You know, when I was coming through, Mike, you only could fail one test. One test. If you failed another test, you were gone. There was no ifs, ands, no buts about it. As far as physical training, you know, they pushed you. But if you never gave up, if you didn't give up, then they would work with you and get you to the point where you needed to be by the time it was time to graduate, and you were able to graduate. I remember this young lady, she's retired now. She came through the class with me as well. This young lady would not give up for anything, Mike. Wouldn't give up for nothing. And it was, I think we came through in August. So we did those hot months, August, September, October, going into the fall. And we had ran from Danny Thomas and, God, what is that street? Right there by the academy. Watkins, Danny Thomas and Watkins. This is no lie. Danny Thomas and Watkins, all the way out through Shelby Farms, not Shelby Farms. What is that out there? Something, Shelby Forest. All the way to the end where that store is down there, right before you go into the woods in Shelby Forest, and all the way back. Wow. And guess what? You were expected to do that. It was a nice pace, airborne shuffle, wasn't too fast, but it was done so that you could see how individuals would endure. We actually ran from the academy all the way to downtown Memphis, the back way. But you were expected to do that, you know, and those are the type of things that we did in the military. But what that did was, if you didn't quit, they didn't kick you out. You know, they just stayed with you and allowed you the ability to finish. But they wanted to see who was going to give up and who wasn't, you know. But see, now if they yell at you the wrong way, I heard they had stress cards, and if they're
I can't even say what I want to say there. Like, wow.
You know, and if they're too forceful with you, you hold up a stress card and they have to back off, you know. But my question is this: when I'm out there in the middle of the night and I'm in a gunfight, or I'm out there, because these young people, you know, there are squad cars on precincts right now that are full of bullet holes, because as they're driving through the neighborhoods, now you're being shot at by individuals. They've gotten just that bold. So what's going to make you have the ability to not flip out, to overreact, because now you feel as though you're being threatened, as opposed to being the individual who is supposed to bring peace, calm, tranquility to the situation? You know what I mean? You can't freak out. You know, you got to stay the calm one until it's time to not be calm anymore, because those times will come as well.
You know, since, you know, I say that there's always going to be crime. I mean, we can't prevent it. There's always going to be crime. But since 2011, down 500 officers, they relaxed the qualifications. So officers come in that shouldn't be officers. And I want to be blunt here. Between what Mayor Wharton did and Mayor Strickland did and all the stuff, the pension, the benefits, messing with the insurance and all that, lives were lost. People died. Bad stuff happened. Bad people got through that should never, ever have been officers. I mean, obviously we know what happened earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So these people have blood on their hands, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and I was one of the first ones to say that I definitely didn't condone what happened to Mr. Tyrese Nichols. That's who we're talking about. You know, even when I was the president of the Police Association, I took flack from both sides, because I was saying everybody had to be accountable, and even the police had to be accountable. And I've never condoned when officers, and I say it on the news, I say it in interviews, I say it in the public, I do not condone any law enforcement officers that is operating outside the scope of his authority or outside the scope of law. I don't care who it is. Yep. Because that could be my cousin, my niece, my nephew, my grandson, yep. Your brother, you know, or a friend of mine. or somebody that I've built a good relationship with, and you don't want that happening to your people because you feel as though the police are put there to protect your best interest, to ensure your safety, and, those types of things. I was a CIT officer, which is a crisis intervention officer, that dealt with mental consumers. We have a whole lot of mental consumers that are out here in these streets, be it because of the drugs, be it because of chemical imbalances in the brain, be it because, we have a lot of veterans that are out here in the street that were in combat. Now they just don't have the reentry socialization skills to be able to adapt back to a normal life, and they're going to be messed up for the rest of their lives. I don't want anybody hurting them if they don't have to.
Right.
Veterans definitely have a soft spot in my heart, and I can relate to a lot of the things that they went to. When I was president of the police association, and I came out and said I had to have counseling because of a lot of the traumatic experiences that I've experienced in life, and I still have issues, but I learned some coping skills and ways to be able to decompress. You rarely ever see me mad. And I tell people you don't want to, because when I get to that point, it's very hard for me to control myself. It's like, you go off that deep end and you just don't care, So I try to maintain a level of calmness and, some things that would make other people flip out, and they look at me and like, man, you're just as calm as you want to be. I said, because I have to be, because if I don't maintain a sense of calmness, then it could lead to me getting into trouble, me losing everything that I've worked for all of my life, and also trying to be an example for others. You try to, it puts you in a position to whereas you can have 900 attaboys, but that one old shoot, where you messed up, they waiting for it, Mike. They waiting for it. You know what I mean?
With their phones up in the air.
Man, what? You know what I mean? So I try to maintain that, but I do have a soft spot in my heart, and I know that there are individuals out here, either on substances or because of mental trauma or something to that effect, that they have to be dealt with differently. And that's why we need smarter police officers as well. And we need those police officers that have the ability to exercise that restraint. Even with the situation with Mr. Nichols, I think that, because of some of the things that happen out there, they may have had to restrain him. But once you restrain him, and also in the manner that you restrain him, that was not it that night, because we saw that he was just being punished. He was being killed that night, in my humble opinion. So you have to make sure that you have the ability to, and I've had to get in fights out there, but once the individual is in custody and we got cuffs on him, that's it. Stop. Back the hell up,
They're never like, and I know what I said, and I don't back away from it, because if they had not done what they did in 2009 through 2014 with the pension, the benefits, you didn't lose those 500 officers that either went to another job or went to another city. So you had the good officers. If you don't lose those officers, you're not lowering the standards in 2018 to bring in all these other people that should have never been there. So when I say that these men had blood on their hands because of it, between the mayors and the city councils and things like that, it's because of decisions that they made. Actions have consequences. And the actions that they made and did and what they tried to do to you guys. And if it wasn't for what you guys did to fight, to get that, 50 cent, sales tax, a lot of things obviously got back on, and you got that done before you left office. They still wouldn't have, but they made the decision when they did, and what they did made us lose 500 officers that were probably good officers. And a lot of this crap would not have happened.
Right. And, they said I was a part of it, but once they started taking the benefits away, we had other departments swarming in here. They were coming in here recruiting big time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we had a lot of officers. I had officers call me. We have what you call a heavy call load in this city. You may get anywhere from 16 to 20 some calls a night. That's a lot. They're going to departments that they may get one call a month, and they're making more money.
Right.
And the benefits are better and the retirement is better. I mean, how can you hold that against somebody? You know what I mean? Because the goal is, number one, to take care of your family, to give your family a decent life. And if you're going to be on one of the most dangerous police departments in the nation, then you deserve to be paid commensurate with that. When you got a heavy call load, you deserve to be paid commensurate with that. And to see that a lot of these individuals left the city of Memphis, went to other departments, and they were also seeking individuals from the Memphis Police Department, because if you can work here, you can work anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Because of the experience that you get. Yeah. So you're highly marketable.
Yeah. We have drag racing going on the streets, on the highways, more car break-ins than probably ever before. People looking for, talked about guns and cash, smash and grabs, jewelry stores, other retail places, many that are closing here around the country. I can see some stores closing here at some point. It's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, we're having to lock up detergent at places like Walgreens when these criminals know that there's going to be, very little action or no action at all, very little bail or no bail. And they're going to keep doing what they're doing. It seems that the rights of the criminals have become, and you talked about this earlier, become more important to the district attorneys and judges throughout our city and country than protecting the public. Why do you believe this is happening? What can possibly be done to fix it, if it can? Because, I read on apps like Nextdoor, people are getting really sick and tired of this. And they're now, just like I talked about, leaving their cars unlocked, hoping that, they don't, steal stuff out of their car and they won't break the glass, because it's not just a minor problem. It's a major problem because it's happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And you're having people that are getting sick and tired of being victimized. It's sad to say that if you live here in the city of Memphis, you have a high probability that you're going to be victimized. And even if you are not being victimized in Poplar Estates or Cordova, or if you live in Collierville or Bartlett or whatever, most of the things that occur in the city of Memphis, most of the things that occur that are good, that are festivals or fests or runs or University of Memphis games or Grizzly games or Bill Street, all of that's located here in the city of Memphis. So you got to come here to the city of Memphis. Yeah. And a lot of people that live in those outlying areas, they come into the city of Memphis to work, and they may return to those areas. I think that, a lot of this is occurring or has occurred because of what those individuals did. And they've done nothing to correct it. I think you have to invest in people. When I say invest in people, as a taxpayer, I'm a firm believer that, you need to put money back into the communities. You need to invest in the children. We got out of the school business. And once we got out of the school business, we didn't provide anything for our young people to do. We took away Liberty Land. We used to have Splash Water Park. I get upset because I still have a 12-year-old daughter, and we took her to Nashville Shores this summer because there's no water park in the city of Memphis. Then we took her to Six Flags because there's no water park in Memphis, and they have an amusement park and a water park. We thought about going to Magic Springs in Arkansas because there's no water park here or amusement park here in the city of Memphis. I don't think we have enough things that are dedicated to the children. I tell the story that I grew up on Wells Street, Wells and 7th, over by Scudderfield, one of the projects. And we were considered poor, but I felt like my quality of life was really, really good, to be perfectly honest. And I'm going to say something, and please do not get offended. At that time, the city was run by predominantly white males. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm actually saying it in a good way. There were more things to do, Michael, in this city for the children than there is now. And a lot of people, we talk about back in the 60s with racism and this and that. But I can remember going to the park, and there used to be individuals that worked in the park that allowed us the ability to play hockey, boxing. I can't remember the ball on the pole, and they had basketballs. And then they brought lunch to the park for the kids. So they kept us actively engaged. There was Pop Warner football. There was, the community centers were fully staffed, and they did arts and crafts, and they had all kinds of nice, wonderful things going on at the community centers for the kids. You go to the community centers now, and a lot of them look barren. The only thing they got going is a basketball, the basketball gym, and everybody's fighting to get onto the court. You go to the parks now, there is no activities that are scheduled in the outlying parks. When we had something scheduled in all of the parks every summer for all of the kids. They invested more, Mike, into the kids at that time, regardless of the race, that I could tell. And it just blows my mind, because I know a lot of people say, well, now you got these democratic cities and da 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 da. And people are probably going to get mad, but I talk about it all the time. When you have now it being ran by predominantly African Americans, but they don't invest in the African American community, Mike. Receipts, check the record, check the record. They don't have the activities in the parks. They don't covered in a lot of the pools, the public pools that they had. They no longer exist. I know for a fact Malone Park pool is not, Malone pool is not there anymore. It used to be a park. Now it's housing. You talk about Washington Park, going all the way down 2nd Street, going toward out toward Fraser. There used to be a big swimming pool over there. You talk about Carnes, you talk about, Leicester, you talk about some of these other places. They had stuff for children to do in the summertime that kept them engaged. Now the only thing that keeps them engaged, Mike, is the streets. So how do we fix this? Number one, we got to stop defending a lot of these criminals in their wrong. Just because they're your nieces and your nephews and your grandkids and your this, that, and the other. There was a time when we held our family members accountable as well. And we would tell them, do not bring dishonor to our family. If you bring dishonor to this family, then you have to suffer the consequences, because we didn't raise you like that. The other thing is we have to invest in our children. We got to give them stuff to do. We got to reinstill in them the fact that you are worthy and you are worth it. And you are the reason why we work as hard as we do, and we give back to the community the way that we do, because you are our future. We are losing our future in this city because all these young people committing crimes, all these people are doing all of these drugs, all of these people are, hurting each other, have no conflict resolution skills, have no deductive reasoning skills, are uneducated. And we're bringing in things like Blue Oval that gives you opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. But a lot of these people are not going to be qualified, or they can't pass a background check. So it's not going to do them any good. So we got to start reinvesting in people. May not be able to do it with some of the older people, but we got to start with the young people. And we got to start ensuring that they're educated and that they have a good education. We got to, coming from the background that I had, I tell you, if I didn't have some of the teachers that I had and some of the people that really cared, um, I too could have succumbed to the streets. But there were things put in place, like I said, the activities, they kept us busy. The teachers in the schools, they knew your capabilities and made sure that they would tell you things like knowledge is the key to success. And it's free. It is free.
And
All
we
you got
used
to do
to
is
be
go
afraid
read
of
it.
the teachers. Now the
Yeah,
teachers are afraid of the students.
exactly. We've done role reversals and so many things. You used to be scared of your parents, but now we got a lot of parents that are scared of the children.
Yep.
I don't understand that concept at all, but it's a reality. So, and then just like we're having elections now, and you spoke about the elections that are happening tomorrow. Um, there has to come a time to where as we don't tolerate those individuals that we're electing, putting us last on their list of priorities, because that's what they're doing. They're putting us last. You can't get in touch with them on the phone. They come out, right now they all over the place because they want your vote. But then after you vote them into office, I challenge you to say, I want to have a meeting with you. You know, I want to have a meeting with you because these are the things that are occurring in our neighborhood. And as our elected representative, the individual we sent there, you need to represent our best interest out here in uh, Cordova or in North Memphis or in South Memphis or in East Memphis, wherever it may be, but you need to represent our best interest. When was the last time we heard of something that uh, the Memphis City Council or the mayor of Memphis did in a community that was going to benefit the citizens? Now, don't get me wrong. I know we've done one bill. We've done the Eccentric Hotel downtown. We've done uh, Crosstown Concourse. They're digging up all kinds of stuff over there at the fairgrounds. They're spending $750 million on redeveloping the fairgrounds. And that's fine, wonderful, and dandy. But how does that affect my quality of life? Now you done started a TDZ, which is tax designated zone, or TIF, tax incremental financing. So if I, as a citizen, you use my tax dollars to do it, and we got to pay it back. But if I go to that area, you're going to charge me 14% taxes on it now, as opposed to the 9.75. It's like you getting me going and coming. But what can you show me that they've done in our communities that's going to increase or enhance my quality of life? So we got to start holding these elected officials accountable and not keep re-electing them over and over and over again. And they haven't showed us or shown us that they're doing something to benefit us, or they're speaking up for us up there on the city council or the county commission.
I believe the first day that really nice building in Liberty Park was open, the community center that was there. I mean, I think the first day it was open, there were so many car break-ins out there that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like that. I mean, you would think, all right, logic says we need to have a lot of security out here. We got this new thing going on here, but obviously, they don't listen to logic. I know that, you and, current outgoing Mayor Strickland, former Mayor Wharton had many, I guess, quote, discussions when it came to, standing up and backing your officers. I believe this is probably, if I had to guess, this was probably a big part of the reason why you ran for mayor in 2015. And, when I first met you at a speech downtown, Sherry and Chad Hopper told me I had to come listen to it because they had come into my store and were telling me what was going on. I was blown away with your honesty and what you weren't spitting things like true politicians are doing now and do all the time. And, not being part of the quote, good old boys club, you still finished fourth place with very little money backing you. You set you said about the race, quote, that was the most exhausting thing I've ever done. It took me 6 months to recover, unquote.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, there was no way they were going to let you become mayor because they wouldn't have been able to control you and your
Exactly.
decisions. Isn't that right?
Exactly. 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 And that's something that the citizens need to take into consideration. I'm not just saying me. I'm saying truly look at the individuals that you're going to elect. You know, and I'm not trying to throw any shade on anybody, but when I see a candidate with $1 million in his campaign contribution fund here in the city of Memphis for mayor, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's impossible for that to happen, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of the individuals that are running and the platforms that they're using, the regular citizens don't have the money, the wherewithal, or the ability to contribute that kind of money. So my question a lot of times to those individuals, and I'm the type of person, I go for full financial disclosures. And anybody can do that. All you got to do is go to the Shelby County election website, look up the candidate. You can pull their financial disclosures. And I like to see who's contributing to who. You'll be amazed. And it's kind of funny in this race because a lot of the individuals that have money are contributing to several different campaigns. So what they're doing is hedging their bets. But you better believe that if somebody is donating those types of monies, they're going to expect something. You know, what I liked about my campaign, Mike, was no, I didn't have a lot of physical money, but I didn't have to pay people to stand at the polls. I didn't have to pay people to put signs out. My whole campaign was volunteer, based on volunteerism. So I didn't. I think I raised about $50,000 for my whole mayoral campaign, 40-some thousand dollars, what have you. But I had maybe 100 and some $1,000 or more in human capital that people chose to donate because all of these people, Van Turner, Paul Young, whomever, they got to pay people $100 a day to stand out there on those poles. They're paying people to go knock on doors. I had street teams that were going through different communities knocking on doors, and I did not pay them one dime. They volunteered to do all of that because they believed that if, in fact, I got elected, then I was going to remain true to who I was, what I said I was going to do, and be able to do that. And I think they wanted me to actually get elected without being bought and sold because it freed me up to answer to the citizens as opposed to a lot of the businesses. And I think a lot of the businesses were afraid of me because I do talk about economic development, but I always preface that with, I am not against economic development, but I also think that there has to be a parallel. We have to keep developing, but we also have to invest in the citizens. We can't just develop, and we have not done anything to invest in the citizens. That's why we're having, to me, that's why we're having such a hard time here in the city of Memphis, because we've devalued people. And some people will say, well, Michael, they're not taxpayers. They live in disadvantaged areas. Lies. Anytime you go to the grocery store, the corner store, everything is jacked up in price anyway. Yep. But you have to pay taxes. And believe it or not, a lot of our taxes come from sales taxes. Yeah, we get a lot of money from homeowner taxes or home taxes, but a lot of our money comes from tourism. A lot of our money, taxes on tourism, taxes on hotels, taxes on this, taxes on that, but also taxes on all of those things that you buy on a daily basis out in some of those disadvantaged areas, because that money is taken out, sales taxes, forwarded to Nashville, and then Nashville in turn has to return some of that money to us. So some of that money needs to be invested into the people, going back into the people, back into the communities.
And it's not. And you have these 10, 11, 12-year olds. It's like you talk about, they don't have anything to do. So
Right.
that a lot of those kids now are getting involved in gangs even at earlier ages.
Mhm.
The older gang members are using the younger gang members to go do a lot of the crimes and stuff like that.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of those kids don't even spend a night in jail, or they're
Mhm.
out pretty quickly, and it's happened over. And when they see there's no consequences or very little consequences, why not continue to keep doing what they're doing?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, they put a moratorium on juvenile court. And I think there was a consent decree on juvenile court as well, because it was stated that, there was a disparity because you had a lot of African American youth that were being locked up in juvenile court, and they weren't afforded the same opportunity as some of the elite or privileged children in the city. So they put a moratorium. So you can, I know for a fact, individuals have went out and stolen cars, and they go home the same night because once they go to juvenile, or even if they go to juvenile, because there's a point system, and based on that point system, if you do not rise to the level of 19 points or what have you, it's mandated uh, through the consent decree and all of that other stuff that you go back to your parents. You go home. And you're correct. A lot of the OGs, uh, they call them OGs, original gangsters, I guess. A lot of the OGs, uh, they send the young guys out, and it's called making your bones. You got to go make your bones so that you can either be a part of the organization, or even if you're already part of the organization, you have to continuously prove yourself so that you're worthy to be a part of this most prestigious organization. So, and because of their age, it's like a revolving door. That's been a topic of discussion. Not only in the jail system here, but also in the juvenile system here as well. So something has to be done to deal with that. I'm a firm believer that I understand people make mistakes, and I don't have a problem with people making mistakes. But when you are 16, 17, 15, 14, 13, and you continue to repeat the cycle, it's not a mistake.
Right.
It's intentional. And if you're going to be out there doing things intentional, then you already know that there are consequences for your actions. And I think you should be held accountable, and you should have to answer for those consequences.
The other gentleman, not the one that killed Eliza Fletcher, I believe it was Cleo, the person, the other gentleman that went on that shooting spree that went on
Yeah.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
That guy the year before had been charged with first-degree attempted murder
Mm-hmm.
and was out of jail in 11 months. Obviously, deals are cut.
Yeah.
And then it goes and does that. I mean, some of these people, there just don't need to be deals like that. Those people need to be put away for a long, long time. And
Right.
how are you out of jail in 11 months, first-degree attempted murder?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're only out to victimize again. And we saw what he did after he got out. I think 6 people were shot or something to that effect.
A nurse
three.
stopped to help him, thought he was, needed help, and he just killed her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe a nurse from West Memphis, plus all those other people that died or got shot. I mean,
Yeah.
the lack of empathy that we
Yeah.
see in society today
Mm-hmm.
is unbelievable. In the social media era, to where I want to be somebody, I want likes, things like that.
I
It's
won't
just,
click.
yeah, I want clicks, I want likes. The
I want
narcissism,
views.
it's
Yes.
horrible.
Yes, it is. But that's what we've come to, though, Mike. We've come to that point. It's going to take somebody very strong to turn this thing around. I have not given up hope. I think that Memphis has so much to offer, and I think that we have the ability to uh, make this city what it was intended to be,
Right.
sitting on the bluffs of the Mississippi, and that's a great city. But it's going to take all of us collectively as citizens, politicians, businesses. It's going to take all of us collectively caring about each other, caring about our future, caring about how much of an impact, positive impact, that we've made on the city prior to us departing here, because we're all going to leave one day.
Yeah.
But how are we going to leave it for our children, for our grandchildren, for our great grandchildren? That's going to be the tale. And we got to stop being so selfish ourselves to whereas we're almost as bad as them, because we want self gratification right now. We want this right now. We don't, when there was a time when I know my grandparents and my parents, yeah, they worked hard all their lives to ensure that they had comfortable lives, but they also did things to ensure that the next generation in my family had the ability to go a little bit further. So we've stopped doing that.
Right.
We're so concerned about us, ourselves, that we don't make those sacrifices for our future generations. And sometimes in being the matriarch or the patriarch, you have to not necessarily just be the bad guy, but you got to be that person in that family, that no nonsense, no bull crap individual. I say what I mean what I say, and you better snap to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you revered those individuals. You loved them to death. You held them in high regard. You respected them, and what they said mattered. And we're kind of getting away from that as well.
The election's tomorrow. Looks like it's probably going to be really close. There's probably four, people that really have a really good shot at winning. City council is, going to be there too. This isn't an overnight problem, obviously, that happened. It's going to take time. Someone, just like you said, who's strong, not going to put up with this bullshit. If you were running for mayor right now and you won, what would you do to attempt to turn Memphis around, reduce the crime problem a little bit, and make people not afraid to leave their homes anymore? Because we're getting to that point, and in some cases, we're already there.
Well, first of all, I would put everybody on notice, Mike. I would go on the news outlets and say it's a new day. I'm advising you to get your kids. I'm advising you to, for the next 6 months or what have you, we're going to war. We're going to war on crime in this city. I don't want to hear he was going to be a brain surgeon. I don't want to hear, my baby wouldn't do this because you're lying.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. I would call all police officers into the FedEx Forum, and I would tell them, we're going to go out here and we're going to fight crime, and we're going to do it the right way. There's zero tolerance. So I want you to deal with any issue that you see. But at the same token, you cannot cross the line. If you cross the line, I'm going to hold you accountable. As a police officer, I know once they started releasing these body camera footages, a lot of people look at them and they go, "Oh, Lord Jesus, it's so horrible." Excluding Tyrese Nichols and the incidences like that. But you're going to have to cuss, because sometimes that's all they understand. You're going to have to snatch them in the collar sometimes because they're so disrespectful and out of order. You're going to have to fight sometimes to take them into custody. And that's just the nature of the beast. So you wanted these video cameras, so you got them. But you better understand that you have to look at them in the right perspective. In order to deal with criminals, you can't go out there, excuse me. They're going to look at you, they're going to laugh, and they're going to continue to do what they do. But you go to them, and I believe in the force continuum. Excuse me, sir, so-and-so, so-and-so. And see, when I was coming up, you only got one opportunity. We weren't finna wait for you to just get ignorant. We were going to be proactive and snatch you up before you got to the point to where you thought you were all that, because you're not all that. and you're going to abide by the law. Okay, so I would put everybody on notice to see and think. People are not ready for stuff like that. I would start to put mechanisms in place to deal with the youth in our community, um, to ensure that there are things available. A lot of the people in the business community are not going to like that because I would have to stop some of the, well, I wouldn't necessarily stop some of the projects that are already going, but we would finish those. But a lot of the uh, revenue would be geared toward possibly bringing in a Six Flags or not a Liberty Land, but I want a whole Six Flags. Bringing in, getting on Steve Cohen's ass and say, hey, look, we're the transportation hub of the Midwest, Mideast, whatever, middle. We got FedEx, we got DHL, we got UPS, we got FedEx Air, FedEx Ground, we got a Riverport. We got so much going on when it comes to transportation. 2 bridges. We need a cargo airport here, and we need to restore our passenger airport. So let's get some federal dollars, Steve, and let's get some of that land out there going toward Millington or wherever. And let's build a cargo airport and call it Fred Smith International Cargo Airport. I don't care what you call it, and get FedEx to sponsor it. Because, see, they're taking up a lot of our airtime over at the passenger airport right now. And that's why it's so hard for us to get transportation in and out when it comes to air. We need to be a hub again. We used to be an international airport. Um, there are a lot of things. We need to work on our roads and not just say we're going to work on our roads. We need to put money back into hiring public servants that are going to maintain the city. We need to work on our infrastructure for real. And I know it's very, very expensive and very, very cumbersome, but we need to do it a little bit at a time and stop talking about it. We need to work on our transportation system. Once again, Steve, remember you wanted to represent the 9th Congressional District. So therefore, go get some federal dollars. And then with the individuals that are up in Nashville, go get some state dollars. And let's give Memphis a transportation system that definitely supports all of the stuff that we have. We have so much stuff going on. We got so many warehouses in this city, but they're spread out all over the place. We don't have 24-hour transportation. The buses stop running at a certain time at night. We like some podunk town, man, to be perfectly honest, when we're considered relatively a large city. So therefore, we have to start acting like one. And not just be a money-making base for certain individuals. We won't, and the thing is too, Mike, the other way when we talk about curbing crime, when individuals feel as though they have a vested interest in something or they stand to lose something, they conduct themselves differently. But when you're keeping everybody down, and you got these young people that don't feel they're going to live to be 24, 25 years old. They don't care because they're trying to live their best life. And whatever that encompasses, that's what they're going to do. So there are a lot of things, and you got to take it bites at a time. This is not, you're going to get in here and all of this is going to happen. I would get a local police chief. Me personally, I want somebody that understands the city of Memphis. I want somebody that's not afraid to talk to the citizens of Memphis and let them know what's going on and not be hiding from the cameras. I'm one of those. I'm one of those people. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. So I don't know. What are you doing? What's going on? I mean, be truthful. We need a mayor that's not afraid to stand up to the citizens and say those hard things that need to be said. As opposed to what Strickland does is coddle. Because he is a white mayor in a predominantly Black city, and he may have other ambitions. He has tried to, I don't want to say cater because he hasn't done anything for the Black community realistically. but he's one of those ones who try to say the right things. He tries to,
Look
paint
at
a
me. Look
picture.
at me.
Yeah, and he tries to paint this picture that he's doing. Look, I love you, and we're doing great and wonderful things for you, and we're going to make sure that, and he knows crime is one of those things. And to me, he's been part of the problem when it comes to the crime issue. Now, all of a sudden, lately, you've been hearing him because it's starting to affect those affluent in the city. There's a problem. There's a problem.
Right.
Oh, there's a problem now. Well, shoot, you've been the mayor for the last 8 years. And prior to that, you was a city council person for 8 years or 12 years or however long you were a city council person. So what, huh? When did the light bulb go off that we have a problem? Well, it went off for us a long time ago. But see, you were so busy trying to do other things that you weren't really paying attention. But now you're coming to the end of your tenure as the mayor, and you may want to run for Congress, or you may be looking to be a judge or something. I'm quite sure, So, and you still may need those votes because let's understand, Steve Cohen is about to relinquish that seat. I don't know how much longer he can do it. You know what I mean? Health wise and some other things that are going on.
Right.
So you got a couple of people that are lining up for that seat right now. So we'll see how all of that unfolds.
Now, you share a lot of pictures online of your family. You obviously love them very much. Tell us about your wife, Andrea, your kids and grandkids, and what they bring to your life.
Look, that's my legacy, man. You know what I mean? My wife, we've been together 20 something years. She's a police officer, sergeant on the Memphis Police Department. She's also a veteran, served in the United States Army as well, from Chicago. Kind of got me grounded, I was always a worker, but she's the type of person that said, stop. We're going to Jamaica. Enjoy life. You can't just work. I needed that in my life. Have 5 kids. My oldest daughter and her son, they own their own business. My next to the oldest daughter, she works she works at Rhodes College, and she also works for City of Memphis in HR. My son, my only son, he's the middle child. He's a police officer. He's also served in the military as well. He was in the infantry. Came back, got on the police department. I almost feel like he followed in my footsteps. Then I have a 30-year-old. She is working as well, doing good things here in the city of Memphis. And then I have a 12-year-old who is currently in the 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade. And all of them are doing well as far as I'm concerned. And that's what it's all about. Just trying to lay a foundation to whereas your children can build upon. And you hope they go a little bit further than you, and you hope they take some of your characteristics, some of your values as they move forward, and they build upon those. I have 5 grandsons, all grandboys, and that's my legacy as well. And and I have great grandkids, as a matter of fact, and most of those are girls. I'm losing count on them because of all of them 5 grandboys, but most of those are girls, and they are spoiled to death. And I know my daughter, who has 4 boys, and most of them are her grandkids. She hate when they come over here because they act like babies and pawpaw can't do no wrong, and they hang out in the pool, and all of them have learned to swim at my house because they stay in the pool so much. But that's why we work hard, and that's why we try to, provide a space that's safe, that they can grow up in, and that they can hopefully see that, because I tell them all in a minute. You see, you like this mine. It ain't yours. I work hard for it. You need to get your own.
Right.
So hopefully that's what they'll strive to do, to be better and to not necessarily have a house with a pool, but just live a better quality of life. Because I worked really hard and it took me a very long time, made a lot of mistakes, Mike. But those that don't try and fail will never be able to succeed, because
Absolutely.
success is a lot of failures on the way.
Absolutely.
And then you eventually get it right. So, I tell a lot of my friends, if the good Lord decide to take me tomorrow, I ain't trying to go nowhere, Michael. But if he decide to take me tomorrow, I'm okay. Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me, because I've come a long way. I've been able to help a lot of people. And even as recently as today, yesterday, day before yesterday, I always run into somebody who say, thank you. I always run into somebody and say, you don't know me, but I know you. You did XYZ for my cousin, or you did XYZ for my grandson, da 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 da. And it's just good to know that I've helped somebody along the way. And, that's my legacy. And nobody can say that Michael ever took anything for doing anything. And a lot of people be surprised, because some things that I do, that other people do as well. And a lot of people expect me to take something for it. And I tell them I've never taken any money for this. It just blows their mind. I said, because God has blessed me in so many other ways.
Right.
I don't really need anything. It would be nice, but I don't need anything. And I'm hoping one of them grandkids of mine, or one of them kids of mine, either hit the lottery or become a millionaire or something, and they can take care of me for a little bit in my older age. So that's my hope, dreams, and desires, goals. Yeah.
My last question for you is, what are the most important lessons that you've learned in your life?
Oh, wow. One of the most important lessons that I've learned is that those things that you think are valuable, some of those things that are tangible and you put so much store in, those aren't the things that are valuable. The things that are valuable is living life to the fullest, enjoying life, having the love of individuals around you that truly love you for you, and not necessarily for what you can do for them. Watching your legacy grow, watching your legacy move to higher heights, the fruit that has not fallen too far from the tree, and it's bearing even better fruit. The measure of a man, is not necessarily his wealth. The measure of a man is how he has developed his family, and how they have prospered in life. I used to be chasing that dollar, and a lot of us have. And there's nothing wrong with working hard to put yourself in a position to where you're comfortable. But if you don't have your health, Mike, you can't spend that money. If you don't have, if you're not in your right state of mind, then you also may not be able to spend that money because you're crazy. It's a lot of those little things that are really valuable as far as I'm concerned. And I've learned that those things that I used to hold in high regard, they don't really mean that much. And some of those things, that I feel as though I failed in. For instance, my older kids, I worked. Yeah, they lived in a nice house. They always had food. They had cars when they were 16. They went to decent schools. but I never spent time with them because I was always working. And I asked them one time, if I had to do all over again, what would you want me to do more of? And they was like, spend more time with us, Dad, you know? And it's like, Jesus, as a man, you like, but I had to go work and I had to put food on the table and I had to, and I had to, and I had to. And you're out there hustling, working overtime, working sometimes 3 jobs, because you wanted to make sure that your kids and your family was not in the same position that you were growing up. But when I look back on, even though we didn't have a lot materially, we, as a family, we were the bomb. We had love. Everybody was close knit. Everybody was tight. And everybody made sure that everybody was okay. And when my kids told me that, if I had it to do all over again, they would prefer that I didn't work a lot of those jobs, that I spent more time with them. So the things that we think are important a lot of times are not as important as we think. And some of those things that we have devalued rise to the forefront, and they become those things that are important. So that's what I've learned in life.
Awesome. Once again, I'd like to thank Platinum Jewelers, our sponsor for Think Big with Michael Zellner podcast. They're located at 9387 Poplar Avenue in Germantown, right as you go through the light at Johnson Road on the right-hand side. Go in there. They take great care of you in there. So just go in there and ask for Preston, ask for Lane. They will help you out and find any kind of jewelry that you want. They have it. There's some really nice, awesome stuff at great prices. Mike, as I mentioned earlier, we met for the first time, I believe it was 2015. You were running for mayor. I think you would have made an outstanding one because you're a people over politics person, and it shows. And you mentioned, we did a lot of events together when I had Sleepy Z's, and you and Randy at the Police Association, not only to try to bring the people of Memphis and the police closer together, but as you mentioned, helping out the tornado and hurricane victims in Texas and Louisiana and Florida. We filled up those big trucks and sent them down there, and for people that we didn't even know. And, I used to trust almost everyone. And I got, my dad told me I trusted way too easily. And I got burned by a lot of people for being too nice and having a big heart. But I learned my lesson after many, many times and trust very few now. And you're someone I trust wholeheartedly. And when I think of you, the word character comes to mind. And thanks for being my friend. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast again today.
Thank you. And as you know, man, anytime that I'm available, if you deem you got something we need to talk about, I have no problem with it because we do have these conversations, and it's the same coming from me to you. You've been one of those individuals that you haven't changed. You're Michael, you've been Michael, and over the course of the years, you haven't changed as far as how you care about people, how you care about this city, how you care about the outcome of people and everybody in this city. And I just want to say thank you for the friendship because, like you said, Chet and Sherry brought you down there. And we built a relationship based upon that. And we started doing a lot of things together. And I want to thank you for partnering with the Memphis Police Association at that time because we didn't have a lot of strong friends at that time. And you availed your business to us. We come out and utilize your lot right there at the corner of Witten and Summer. And, you didn't have to do it, but we're glad that you did. And we had some really good times out there. So,
yes, we did. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. Thanks again, Mike, for coming on today. And thanks for all your kind words too.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right. See you soon.